going on, everybody? Devil's Advocate here. So, I want to talk about these vaccine mandates and why people should be concerned about them. And I know that there's a portion of people like myself who believe that mandates are ridiculous. And then I know there's a portion of people who are so worried about the public health aspect of it and protecting people that they think that the mandates are okay. So, I just wanted to give a little bit of insight as to why I don't support these mandates at all. And this has nothing to do with COVID. So when I say that, I mean that the rollout of the mandates, a lot of the people that are supporting these mandates are thinking about COVID. And that's where their mind is wrapped around these mandates. That it's a public safety issue, and some people just aren't doing the right thing, and so these mandates are, even though it might seem harsh, sometimes we gotta take harsh actions in the best interest of the people. But is it in the best interest of the people? You have to ask yourself that question. And history shows, statistics show, that anytime you endorse federal government overreach, particularly in emergency type situations, that overreach that's been extended to the federal government is very rarely, if ever, rescinded back to its original position. That's why it's a problem. And all of this is on purpose. It's all on purpose. So, when the politics of a situation, this pandemic does not follow the science, we have a problem. The political policy is not in line with the science. There are several cases of this. An FDA panel of 16 doctors, 14 of them do not endorse the idea of booster shots. The administration wants to endorse booster shots. A lot of doctors in the medical community do not feel strongly about the necessity of booster shots for the general public. But the political arm of the situation does endorse booster shots. Why would that be? If this entire pandemic, if this whole COVID thing is about relying on experts and scientists, why is the political aspect at odds with the medical aspect of it? Studies coming out. Natural immunity to the virus. If you've been infected and survived, is many times stronger. That immunity is many times stronger than somebody who has not been infected and just got a vaccine. So I always said from the beginning, I don't like the idea of getting the vaccine. I took the vaccine. I'm not necessarily against the vaccine because I'm not an anti-vaxxer. But I'm a person of common sense. Medical research shows, our studies are showing, that if you are somebody who has natural immunity from infection and you got a COVID vaccine on top of it, you are a COVID resistance superstar. Great. That's fantastic. It doesn't mean that we should make you do it. It doesn't mean the government should mandate that you get it anyways. Because the science shows that if you had the infection and recovered from it, your immunity is stronger than anybody who just got a vaccine alone. So why should you be mandated to get the vaccine? It might be a good idea if you want to be super immune, but you shouldn't be told that you have to do it. And trying to flex the muscle of making companies have to choose whether or not they're going to fire people or hire people based on their vaccination status is nothing more than a divisive tool to create agitation amongst the population. That's literally all it is. When these mandates, these policies are focused only on the American people, and there is no policy in place for the migrants flooding through our gates and flooding through our borders, it's nothing but a tool of manipulation. You know why there's no policy for migrants flooding across the border? Because it's not in the best interest of the people making the policies to do so. They gain nothing from it, so they don't care. Let me explain. So, I made a post, a lengthy post about this, but I took it down. I was like, I'd rather just make a video about this. Let's just take a situation from New York yesterday, right? This is in New York City. 4 women wanted to go eat at a restaurant. This restaurant was checking the vaccination status of the people coming into their restaurant. First lady gets in. The next 3 women are rejected and turned away because the owner or the lady working at the front, the hostess or whatever, felt that their vaccination cards seemed fake or like a forgery or something like that, right? So they were turned away based on vaccination status. And then later on down the road, all 3 of these females were African American, black, or whatever you want to call them. And, BLM comes out. And even though I do not support BLM at all, and I have nothing but negative things to say about them in almost 99.9% of the time, they actually made a strong point in this particular instance. So, I give them a win on that one. But anyways, so BLM comes out arguing how it's not fair, and that mostly, it's more than 70% or about roughly 70% of black Americans are not vaccinated. So who is this hurting and targeting the most? I'm like, hey, that actually kind of makes sense. But anyways, the main point I wanted to make was that they tried to label this business owner racist, right? Because it was 3 black women who didn't get in. Said, oh, it's because I'm black. So a COVID policy related situation turned into a racial tension situation. So I'm sitting here to myself thinking, the restaurant owner is in a tough position because she's being mandated to make these calls. She probably doesn't even want to, but she has to in order to keep her doors open or risk being heavily fined. The customer is in a tough position because they have to abide by these mandates or they can't go do what they want to do. The business owner is not the problem. The customer is not the problem. Yet, these 2 entities are fighting amongst themselves while somebody at the top is the person to blame for all this bullshit happening in the first place. But these 2 are so busy fighting and so distracted with their personal tension between one another that they remain completely oblivious to the puppet master at the top that's pulling these strings and making all this shit happen. It's intentional and it's by design. When the policies don't follow the science, when the political policies don't follow the science, and politics are at odds with the scientific community, you have to wonder, what is the angle? What's the angle? What's the point? What are you doing? I mean, I know I can sit here and give the simple answers. Oh, this is all about money. The more vaccines you got to pump into people, the more money these pharmaceutical industries make. That could be partially true, but it's a lot deeper than that to me. I think it goes a lot further than that, than just some simple business greed. This is a power grab. So the reason I want to make the video is because when I was typing all this out in a post, it started to get really long and convoluted. And I was like, if people actually take the time to read this, which they probably won't because it's a really long post, I'm probably going to lose people along the way. So let me try to explain it. This initial pandemic, right? This pandemic, whether man-made or not, whether intentional or not, whatever side of the fence you're on, either way, the one thing that can be concluded is that it was a window of opportunity for a certain group of people to take advantage of a situation. And that's what they did. So you create this hysteria, right? This perpetual fear of this pandemic, right? And the only way for you to continue on about your life normally, what they want is that you have to prove your vaccination status wherever you go. Now, I said this over a year ago that this is exactly how this was going to happen. Now, we have opportunities and we have opposition out there, and I hope that those oppositions prevail. Because if it doesn't prevail and things progress the way that these entities want these things to progress, this is exactly what you're going to see. And this is the roadmap of what you can predict to happen. So it starts with this, right? This is a test. This is a preliminary test. So it's like, all right, we're going to make people show their vaccination cards, their vaccination status whenever they go somewhere. All they're doing is they're observed, because this right here, this is an easy way. This is an easy way to test the compliance of people and to work on making people more compliant without a huge financial investment to do so. It's really easy to make people flash a little card to show the back. They probably know people are going to bullshit it or not, but all they need is a general idea to get a pulse on the population to see how much compliance is actually taking place. How much are people giving in? And these tensions, these tiffs between people was like a COVID thing or a race thing. This is emotional labor. And eventually, people get emotionally beat down enough to where they give up and they say, you know what, I don't even give a shit anymore. I'm going to do whatever you say just so I can live my life. And that's the pinnacle moment that they're waiting for. They're waiting for the moment where you just say, you know what, I don't even care anymore. I just want to live my life. Good. That's exactly what we want. That's the answer we've been waiting for. So this is how this will go, right? So right now, there's a lot of tension. Good. I hope it stays there. And I hope that battle just keeps going. I hope that nobody makes it too easy for the government, actually the people behind the government, to help the government push this fucking bullshit. Because it's all horseshit. And anybody who stands behind it is delusional. And they got their head in the clouds with some kind of weird pipe dream on why these mandates are a good idea. It's a horrible idea. And I know I said I was going to present this stuff differently, but this one, I feel as if I can just say this however the hell I want to say it. Because they're going to have you say, all right, show the card. All right, easy, whatever. People forge whatever. They don't care. They just need to see how it's going, all right? You got companies in the works right now that are creating apps for your phone. They're making apps. So, you know, to harvest and hold your medical data so that you can go into a restaurant, just flash a QR code and you're good. You could confirm vaccination status, right? That's the next phase. There's a couple of companies that I'm already tracking on that are already trying to they're putting their hat in the ring. They want to be the premier company that is used to mainly, to be the main apparatus for this movement. If it takes hold, if it takes root. And then so it'll go from there. So you gotta keep in mind that the overall goal, what I told you before, is to merge who you are with your monetary worth. This medical thing is literally just the tip of the iceberg. It's just the reason. It's just the reason used to start this entire bullshit process. So listen, QR code or a COVID card first, which is what everybody's using, right? Most people in most states aren't aware of using their phone to verify their vaccination status. Some states are already doing this. Some cities are already doing this. You can use an app on your phone, but it'll transition to be more mainstream because everything that's going to be served to you, whether you understand it or not, is going to be served to you and delivered in a way to make it appear like it's in your best interest because it's more convenient for you. In your convenience, every time that you do something that's more convenient for you, you're giving up a little bit more of your autonomy every single time you do it. You got to remember now that you know, why did we stop putting passwords in our phone? You know, the long fucking number. I still do that. The numbered passwords. Why did a lot of people stop doing that? Because it was inconvenient. It's a lot easier to put a thumbprint on there just to look at your phone. These companies are in possession of all your biometric data. They got all your fingerprints. They got all your facial scans. That information's on file. So when the time comes when they want to get to the point where they say, guess what? You don't even need your phone anymore. We've got systems in place where your face gets scanned. We already know who you are. We know your vaccination status. We know your monetary worth. We know your political party affiliation. We know all that stuff about you. We know either you are an obedient member of our society who plays ball and goes completely along with what we say, or you are disgruntled obedient member of the society who, you know, you don't like what we're doing, but you just keep your mouth shut. You just do it anyways. We see what you do here and there, but you're not a real threat. And then we got the bad apples. We got the people who need to be re-educated. You heard of re-education camps? I don't want anybody to feel like we're in such prestigious position here in America where none of the crazy stuff that happens in other countries around the world can't happen here. Now I know that it can happen because I watch it happen around the world. I know it can happen because I watch politicians try to push forth bills that have crazy shit in them. Now, they don't pass. But the fact that these bills even get put on the table in the first place lets me know we got people in this country that are freaking crazy. It wasn't even too long ago that somebody out of New York wanted to put forth a bill for COVID camps, for people who refuse to get the vaccine to actually be arrested or detained. What do they call it? Forceful apprehension, in which that individual be confined initially at 72 hours while a healthcare provider convinces them why it's in their best interest to get the vaccine. And if at the end of the 72-hour period, I remember this explicitly because it was mind-blowing to me how somebody actually drafted this document and tried to push it forth as legislation. At the end of 72 hours, the holding facility can ask a local judge of the court, to grant an extension, an indefinite extension, which would keep that person apprehended against their will until they agreed to get vaccinated or until they agreed to get the vaccination. And guess what? And if they didn't agree to get the vaccination, they were just there. They were a detainee. They were considered a threat to the general public, a health threat to the general public. So they remain detained because they refused to get a vaccine. And at which point, that person can continuously petition to be released, or they continuously petition to stand their ground or fight their case. In which meantime, the facility will continuously try to educate that person on why it's in their best interest to get the COVID vaccine. Now, this was last year that this stuff was proposed. Like I said, it didn't pass. But what's to keep stuff like that from passing? Because I said it before, things are going in a weird direction real quick around here. And I see the people are talking about it, good, but more people need to be talking about it. More people need to be resistant about the horse shit that's going on around here. Now I said, the only saving grace that I've seen is that these individuals, these parties of people who want this crazy stuff, they went a little too far, a little too fast, and to raise some eyebrows. That's good. Sometimes people's arrogance causes them to fail. And I hope that this is the situation. I hope that the bold arrogance of pushing such lunacy in such a short frame of time is going to catch a lot of people off guard. They're going to be like, no, this isn't right. This isn't right. Good. Because if these people were a little bit more patient, like I said before, if these people are a little bit more patient about their agendas and their initiatives, there's a good chance that a lot of this stuff would have slid through the cracks and passed. But they did too much too quick. And I think right now, there is such a, they're so far removed from reality, I don't even think they understand how crazy some of the stuff they're doing seems. But before I wrap this up, one thing I want to say about this border thing and all these refugees. They're trying to cover up one thing that they're hiding, that they're not talking about, is that the Democrats are trying to push forth legislation in their crazy bill, their $3.5 trillion bill, that gives amnesty to 8 million undocumented immigrants or illegal aliens in this country. This is all about votes. Afghanistan crisis, border crisis, inflation. Right now, wage increases. We have good wage increases in the year 2021, but statistics show that the inflation in this country has been so bad that even those who have managed to get their wage increase to $15 an hour, their spending power is actually 0.05% lower than what it was prior to all this bullshit starting in the first place. We got a mess. Everywhere you look, there's a mess. And they're like, oh, this is just bad judgment all the way around. No, this is on purpose. 100%. All intentional. There's a reason why when the press corps tries to ask questions that somebody just doesn't answer questions. There's a reason why when the press corps tries to get an individual to talk, that once that individual starts talking, their mic gets cut off. The press corps gets relieved from the room. The first step is an attempt to change voting laws to where nobody has to verify who they are. To give all these immigrants citizenship, because they'll all vote Democrat. Because if they got here under the Democratic regime, then likely it will just make sense that they will hope that their families and extended families can get here the same way as well. So they're going to vote the way or how they got here. It's the only thing that makes sense is common sense. This is all about securing democratic power. That's all it is. This is not about helping America. This is not about fixing problems. This is about securing power, and so they can stay perpetually in position. And once they are in position where they have manipulated every single facet of checks and balances in this country, once that's taken place, at that point, this total realignment can start, because there's nobody staying in the way anymore. Nobody's standing in the way. Just keep your head on the swivel. Keep your head on the swivel and just pay attention to what I'm telling you. The media's in on it. The media, I mean, Jesus God, like I feel so bad for people that I know that watch too much mainstream media and they get roped in so quick. Oh, they're beating Haitians at the border with whips. And they'll take to Facebook and Twitter with all that stuff. And it was only a matter of hours later where all those news organizations had to apologize for being wrong. For trying to label the reins of a horse that a horseback rider uses to control their horse. They try to outline that and describe that as being a whip that was used to whip Haitians. Again, taking one crisis, not seeing it for what it is, and making it a race-driven situation. Divide and conquer. Low-level bickering. That's what they need you to stay on. Stay on your low-level bullshit bickering so that they can get their big agendas at the top taken care of, and you're not even paying attention to it. It's a blip on your radar. You're more concerned about the optics of a situation versus what's really happening around here, and this place is dissolving quick as fuck. There is a chance, an opportunity I see to turn the ship around, but what did I say before? I remain skeptically optimistic. That's all I can do. Skeptically optimistic. I just, we need more people that see wrong and take action. See wrong and step up and say something. And just pull away, back away, and say, maybe these news organizations do have a narrative. They're all paid for. They're all owned by rich billionaires who are trying to manipulate this country. There's a reason why you can't bring up George Soros on the news, on mainstream media. You can't even talk about him. You can't criticize him. People know what he does. People are aware that anytime you see some kind of crazy ass Black Lives Matter or BLM protest somewhere or a riot somewhere, he's the one that funds the charter buses and hires these freaking bad actors to show up and tear up fucking places. People know this stuff, but the news can't say that. They can report on the riot. They can report on buildings being burned down and torn up. But you are not allowed to address the aspect of what the root cause on how a lot of this stuff starts in the first place. Is that the fire started by a billionaire whose best interest is to manipulate a situation. You can't talk about it. There's a reason for that. Anyways, I could go rant on about this for the next 5 hours, but I'm going to stop here. If you like my video, please like, share, subscribe. I'm trying to get on the ball again. And as always, take care of yourself, be smart, stay safe. And until next time, peace.